A lot of women take relationship tests personally. They think, if he's testing me, he must not care about me. But the truth is, men test women for one reason more than anything else. They are trying to figure out if you are emotionally stable, secure in yourself, and capable of handling pressure without losing your identity. And before you get defensive hearing that, understand this carefully. Women test men too. Everyone does. Human beings test people when they care about the outcome. Nobody tests someone they don't value. The difference is that men and women usually test in very different ways. A man is not always consciously sitting there planning some manipulative game. Most of the time, these tests happen naturally. They come from his instincts, his fears, his experiences, and his need to know whether the woman he's investing in will bring peace into his life or emotional chaos. Because here's what many women don't realize. Men are constantly observing your emotional reactions, not your beauty, not your makeup, not your perfect Instagram photos. Your reactions. How do you respond when things don't go exactly your way? How do you handle disappointment? How do you react when he's busy? How do you respond to uncertainty? Can you communicate without exploding? Can you disagree without becoming disrespectful? Can you maintain your self-worth without needing constant reassurance? That's what he's paying attention to. And this is where so many women unintentionally push good men away. They think love means constant validation, constant attention, constant proof. So the second they feel insecure, they panic. They overtext. They overexplain. They become emotionally reactive. And in that moment, the man starts questioning whether being with her will feel emotionally safe long term. Because men deeply crave peace. Not boredom, not silence. Peace. There's a difference. A masculine man wants a woman who can bring emotional warmth into his life, not emotional instability every single week. He wants to know that when life gets hard, you won't completely fall apart and make him responsible for regulating every emotion you feel. And some women hear that and immediately think, so I'm not allowed to have emotions? Of course you are. But emotional maturity is different from emotional chaos. A secure woman can express her feelings without losing control of herself. She can communicate without manipulating. She can feel hurt without trying to punish him. She can ask for reassurance without becoming desperate for it. That energy is powerful. And honestly, one of the biggest tests men unconsciously give women is distance. Not because they want to hurt you, but because distance reveals the truth. The moment he pulls back slightly, the masks fall off. Some women stay grounded, others spiral, and the spiral usually sounds like this. Why is he taking longer to reply? Did I do something wrong? Is he losing interest? Should I text again? Maybe I need to be prettier. Maybe I'm not enough. And suddenly, her entire emotional state depends on one man's behavior. That's what scares men, not your emotions. Your lack of emotional grounding. Because when a woman abandons herself the second she feels uncertainty, the relationship becomes emotionally exhausting. The man feels pressure instead of connection. A high-value woman understands something deeply. I can love someone without losing myself. That mindset changes everything. Men test boundaries too. They want to see if you actually mean what you say. If you say you value respect, will you still tolerate disrespect because you're afraid to lose him? If you say you need consistency, will you accept breadcrumbs anyway? If you say you know your worth, will you abandon your standards the moment you feel emotionally attached? Men watch actions more than words. And this is why confidence is so attractive to masculine men. Not loud confidence, not arrogance, not pretending you don't care. Real confidence. The kind where a woman remains emotionally centered even when she likes someone deeply. The kind where she doesn't chase validation because she already validates herself. The kind where her happiness does not collapse based on male attention. That woman stands out immediately because most people are emotionally reactive. Most people operate from fear. Most people panic when relationships feel uncertain. But the woman who stays calm, communicates clearly, respects herself, and maintains her standards without becoming cold or bitter, she becomes unforgettable. And here's another uncomfortable truth. Sometimes men test women by saying no. No to plans, no to our request, no to constant communication. Why? Because they want to see whether you respect boundaries or become controlling when things don't go your way. A mature relationship cannot survive without emotional flexibility. Life is stressful. People get busy. Energy changes. If every minor shift creates conflict, the relationship starts feeling heavy. And heavy relationships rarely last. This is why emotionally secure women are magnetic. Their energy feels safe, calm, feminine, open. Not because they're perfect, but because they don't make every emotional wave into a crisis. They know how to self-regulate, That is a superpower in modern dating, especially today, where so many relationships are built on anxiety, constant texting, social media validation, and emotional dependency. A woman who can remain connected to herself while loving someone else is rare, and men know it. A lot of women think attraction is built through trying harder, more texting, more proving, more sacrificing, more overgiving. But attraction is often strengthened through emotional self respect. When a man sees that you enjoy your own life, maintain your routines, protect your peace, and don't emotionally collapse when he's unavailable for a few hours, he relaxes around you. He trusts you more. He sees you as emotionally mature, and that trust matters more than many women realize. Because men are not just choosing beauty, they're choosing emotional experiences. They're asking themselves, how do I feel around her? Do I feel respected? Do I feel peace? Can I trust her reactions? Does she make my life better or more stressful? And the women who win in relationships are not always the prettiest women in the room. They are the women who know who they are, the women who don't beg for love, who don't force connection, who don't perform for validation, who understand that love is not about control. It's about emotional safety. And ironically, the more secure you become within yourself, the fewer tests you'll even notice, because secure women don't personalize everything. They don't interpret every delayed text as rejection. They don't panic at every emotional shift. They observe, they communicate, they stay grounded. And grounded women naturally inspire respect, not because they're trying to manipulate men into commitment, but because emotional stability is deeply attractive. The truth is, relationships reveal your emotional wounds. They expose insecurities you didn't even know you had. And many men test women because they are unconsciously trying to figure out whether those wounds control you. Can you stay soft without becoming weak? Can you stay loving without abandoning yourself? Can you stay emotionally open without becoming emotionally dependent? That balance is what creates healthy love. And the women who master this stop chasing relationships entirely because they realize something powerful. The goal was never to make a man obsessed with you. The goal was to become so emotionally strong, self-aware, and secure that no relationship could ever make you lose yourself again. And when a woman reaches that level of emotional security, something fascinating starts to happen in her relationships. She stops reacting from fear and starts responding from wisdom. And men feel that difference immediately because most men are used to emotional extremes. They're used to women who become overly attached too quickly, women who need constant reassurance, women who say they want honesty but punish vulnerability, women who lose themselves inside relationships and then secretly resent the man for it later. So when a man encounters a woman who is emotionally balanced, it catches him off guard. She's warm but not desperate, interested but not obsessed, loving but not controlling. And suddenly he feels safe enough to invest emotionally. This is something many women misunderstand about masculine energy. A masculine man is not afraid of commitment. He's afraid of emotional instability. He's afraid of entering a relationship where he constantly feels tested, criticized, controlled, or emotionally drained. That's why men test women first. Not because they want to dominate them, but because they are trying to protect their peace. And honestly, some women fail these tests without even realizing it. Not because they're bad women, but because unresolved insecurity starts making decisions for them. For example, a man might cancel one date because he's genuinely busy. A secure woman notices the pattern before reacting emotionally. She understands that one moment does not define the entire relationship, but an insecure woman immediately internalizes it. He doesn't care. He's losing interest. I knew this would happen. And then she reacts emotionally instead of intelligently. She becomes cold, passive-aggressive, overly emotional, demanding, or she starts trying harder to win his attention again. And the sad part is, that reaction usually creates the very distance she was afraid of in the first place. Fear has a way of sabotaging connection. This is why emotional self-awareness matters so much in relationships. Because if you are constantly operating from fear of abandonment, you will unconsciously create pressure around love. And pressure suffocates attraction. A man should feel inspired to move closer to you, not emotionally forced to manage your anxiety every day. That doesn't mean you never express needs. Healthy women absolutely communicate standards, desires, and boundaries, but they do it from a grounded place, not from emotional panic. There's a huge difference between saying, I value consistency in communication, versus, why are you ignoring me? Are you talking to someone else? One comes from self-respect. The other comes from fear. And men can feel the energy behind your words even more than the words themselves. A lot of relationship struggles are not actually communication problems. They are emotional regulation problems. People say things they don't mean because they feel temporarily insecure. They threaten breakups because they want reassurance. They create drama because they fear being forgotten. And over time, those patterns slowly destroy trust because eventually the relationship stops feeling emotionally safe. And this is why self-worth changes everything. When a woman truly values herself, she stops seeing every relationship challenge as proof that she's unlovable. She understands that sometimes people get tired, busy, stressed, distracted, human. Not every shift means rejection. That mindset alone protects relationships more than people realize. And here's another truth most women never hear. Men test emotional consistency. Not just how sweet you are at the beginning, not just how attractive you are when things are exciting, but who you become over time. Can you maintain your femininity during conflict? Can you communicate respectfully when upset? Can you handle difficult conversations without becoming cruel? Because anyone can be lovable during the honeymoon phase. Real character appears under pressure. And the women who create lasting attraction are the ones who don't completely transform emotionally every time they feel hurt. A lot of women think emotional intensity equals love. They think if a relationship feels overwhelming, addictive, dramatic, and painful, it must be deep. But healthy love often feels calmer than trauma bonds. That's why emotionally healthy relationships can initially feel boring to people who are addicted to chaos. They are so used to inconsistency that stability feels unfamiliar. But stability is where real intimacy grows. A secure man does not want to spend his life calming constant emotional fires. He wants partnership, respect, understanding, peace, encouragement, and contrary to what social media teaches, healthy men are deeply affected by the emotional environment around them. A woman's energy impacts the entire relationship. If she constantly creates tension, criticism, suspicion, and emotional volatility, the relationship slowly becomes exhausting. Even if he loves her, love alone cannot survive emotional chaos forever. And this is why inner healing matters more than dating tactics. Because you cannot build a healthy relationship while constantly operating from unhealed wounds. If you secretly believe you're not enough, you will constantly seek proof that you are. If you fear abandonment, you will overreact to distance. If you lack self-worth, you will tolerate behavior that hurts you just to avoid being alone. And men notice these things. Not always consciously, but emotionally. People can feel when someone is trying to extract validation instead of share love, and that's where many women lose themselves. They start making the relationship their entire identity. Every mood depends on him. Every insecurity revolves around him. Every thought becomes about whether he still wants her. That's not love. That's emotional dependency. Real love includes individuality. You should still have goals, still have friendships, still have purpose, still have passions outside the relationship. Because the healthiest relationships happen when two complete people come together, not when one person becomes emotionally responsible for the other's self-worth. And ironically, the more fulfilled a woman becomes within herself, the more attractive she becomes to emotionally healthy men. Because confidence is calming. A woman who knows her worth doesn't need to force connection. She doesn't chase people who are inconsistent. She doesn't beg for clarity from men who create confusion. She pays attention to actions, trusts patterns, and protects her peace. That energy commands respect naturally. And men test that too. Sometimes a man will unconsciously push boundaries just to see whether you abandon your standards for his approval. Will you tolerate disrespect because you're emotionally attached? Will you ignore red flags because you fear starting over? Will you betray yourself just to keep him interested? And every time a woman abandons her standards to avoid losing a man, she slowly loses confidence in herself. Because deep down, self-betrayal always weakens self-worth. This is why emotionally strong women walk differently, speak differently, date differently. They are not trying to convince someone to choose them. They are observing whether the relationship aligns with the life they want. That shift is powerful. Because desperate energy asks, how do I make him stay? Secure energy asks, is this connection healthy for me? And that changes everything. Men respect women who respect themselves, not performative confidence, not arrogance, not pretending not to care. Real self-respect. The kind where a woman can walk away from inconsistency even when she has feelings. The kind where she refuses to compete for attention. The kind where she understands her value without needing constant external validation. And yes, that can intimidate emotionally immature men, but healthy masculine men admire it deeply. Because emotionally mature men do not want to lead someone they constantly have to emotionally rescue. They want a teammate, A partner? Someone who adds peace to their life instead of emotional confusion. And this is where many women finally realize something life-changing. The relationship was never supposed to become your entire world. A relationship should enhance your life, not replace your identity. The strongest women in relationships are not the women who obsess the most. They are the women who remain connected to themselves while loving deeply. They don't disappear emotionally inside love. They don't abandon their standards to avoid loneliness. They don't sacrifice their mental health trying to keep someone interested. And because of that, men take them seriously, because there's something deeply attractive about a woman who can love fully without losing her center. A woman who stays calm under pressure, who communicates honestly, who respects herself enough to walk away from confusion, who doesn't need to manipulate, chase, or beg for consistency. That kind of woman changes the emotional dynamic completely, because now the relationship is no longer built on fear. It's built on mutual respect, emotional maturity, and genuine connection.